Welcome back to the Rob Taylor Tattoos podcast. Today I have with me Justin Eckerd, music producer, natural medicine practitioner, and entho, correct me, I'm terrible at this.
Entheo guy.
Entheo guide. He's produced bands like Old 60, Sons of Habit. He focuses things on ayahuasca, mushrooms, mescaline, cactus, MDMA, and how that can benefit you in healing. So today we're just going to go ahead and just jump on into it and get to know each other a little bit here and rock and roll.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for being here, first and foremost. I appreciate you coming all the way out here and being on the show, man.
Of course, man. Of course. Like, loved watching your stuff so far. And of course, like, I've seen it blow up even more with our mutual friend, Alan. Stuff. And it's just amazing what you're doing. Dude. And of course, like, love tattoos, man. Couldn't pass up.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what's up, man. Thank you so much.
Work is.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. That's why I brought you this piece. I'm like, if anybody's going to do this, like.
Great. I've been doing it for so long, man, that I don't, it's just daily life for me. And that's another day in the office kind of thing. I still look at all my pieces. I still look at it all and see everything I've done wrong. Every tattoo, till this day, I'm like, and I could have done this there. I could have done that there.
We're always our own worst critic, man. Always.
All right, well, we're just gonna hop right into it, dude. So, first and foremost, like, you're a music producer. Like, that's your first, like, that's your main gig. That's
what I do full time. I've been doing it for professionally, commercially since like 2016. I opened up a studio. I was kind of at a crossroads in my life. I was like 28 years old. And I was at a spot where I was like, I could continue selling cars. I was also in the Army National Guard. I kind of felt like I was kind of locked down and couldn't go anywhere with that career. And I was like, I got to do something different. I'm definitely getting out of the Army. I'm definitely not fucking selling cars anymore. Because that shit was just, I felt like I was screwing people all the time. I wanted to be in a place where I could create with people. My art, like, I've been a musician my entire life, so finally I made that decision.
Why did you join the military in the first place?
Honestly, my dad said, like, basically the only way, you have two choices. You could go do this church internship, but either way, you're not living here anymore. Pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of turmoil in the household, like me as a teenager growing up, and just a lot of things happening that I mean, we were mixed in with a church that was totally like mind controlling and abusive, emotionally abusive.
Culty style?
Cult, yeah. I mean, everybody called us the cult church in our community, which was wild. So
how was that?
That was interesting. There was a lot of trauma that I worked through with plant medicine with that.
Oh wow.
But they were still kind of like stuck in that church place. My parents were during the time of me like graduating high school and kind of going on to do my own thing in life. They were still stuck in that like place, but which is crazy because my dad was like, "Yeah, you need to leave," which I think really saved me from a lot more trauma because I was heavily involved in that church, like in the youth. I was like a core youth leader. Played guitar, and some backup instruments, sang, like fully led worship, that kind of stuff for youth and on like we called it big church, you know, like morning church, and then at night we'd have like the youth church. And what's crazy though is after I left home and went to basic training, because I made the choice. I was like, I don't want to do this church internship because that's not the path I want to go. And that was what caused a lot of the turmoil, because I was like my whole teenage years, I was like so spiritually open to a lot of different things. And I was trying to discover my identity in those places, different religions, different belief systems, different, you know. And I think being forced into this belief system, especially in a charismatic Pentecostal church, people speak in tongues and like, it's deep, man, like how far it went. And that's what created a lot of like disagreement, discord, emotional abuse, manipulation, all kinds of stuff between family members. And so I was like, okay, the military is a place for me to like take my to an outlet from like my anger and all this things have been built up for years. And then it's also a way for me to pay for college, which I just knew college was like, yeah, that's just the thing to do. You know, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know any of it, but I was ready to get the hell out of the fucking house, you know?
So then where do you stand spiritually now after all of that?
I right now, like, so I would say my spiritual reignition and kind of a path to awakening started in like 2021, 2022. And I really feel like I'm still on that journey of finding a lot of things that I resonate with in terms of spirituality. I feel like I want to like bring it all into my life and like practice a lot of it. I would say like Christo, Judaic, Hindu, Buddhist, you know, like there's so many practices and so many ways of thinking. Like I really like the idea of encompassing it all and understanding it all. I believe in one creator.
So it's all the word of God. Kind of.
Yeah. I think, you know, they say like all paths. I wouldn't say all paths. I think all moral paths. And kind of lead to heaven, you know, if that's your goal. I understand that heaven can be brought to earth. Like you can totally live in heaven in this plane if you decide to. You can live in hell, you know. And right now I'm studying. For a while I studied like Stoicism, but I'm really ignited back into Stoicism. And then I think my biggest focus is like the art of letting go.
Okay. I got into Stoicism for a while, man. That's a tough one. It's simple concept, but extremely hard practice.
Yeah, because it's so like about it's you know, I guess the basics Stoicism 101 is really about your reactions. Like how your attachment to things and reactions to things. Like, and so I've been reading a lot of like the Daily Stoic, Marcus Aurelius, you know. But for a long time I was into over the summer I got really heavy into Ram Dass. Felt a very deep emotional connection to Ram Dass and like his place of loving awareness. And I mean, I watched his documentary on Netflix and bawled my eyes out. Like, dude, I love this man. Love this man. Something just encompasses everything that I want to be, you know? And I mean, that's what gurus do. You know, that's what they show you. They show you what you are capable of being is just holding a mirror, you know? And they're holy men for the purpose of being holy men and not to teach anybody. The only people that call them guru are the people that come to them and seek now. Yeah, back to kind of, I guess, what we were talking about. I'm like a really open, right now I'm in a really open studying place again. which I was for a long time. And I don't like to attach to things
One identity.
very quickly because, or like, I just don't like to attach to things. I like to be flowing. I think that's one thing that like ayahuasca and these plant medicines has really helped me with is understanding that I can be whatever I want to be and I don't have to be anything at all, which creates
by that.
It creates so much more freedom in the identities that you pick up. Like, you know, there's for a long time, like I was a gym rat. Like me and Buddy Roscoe would go like every day. And I would go to the gym when I first opened the studio. That was like, because I was taking showers there. First of all, you're good. First of all, I was taking showers there. So I was like, okay, if I'm, I'm taking showers there because I was like pretty much living out of my studio for a little bit. The first one. Then I'm going to work out. And it just became a routine thing. And I attached my identity to that, And so there's months where I'm like really heavy into wanting to work out and go back and lift. And
I can relate to that so much between bike building, jujitsu, photography and film, tattooing, content. Like I rotate my interests. And I go all in while I'm in it. But I can't attach myself to one thing.
Right. And I think for a long time, like I had this guilt of like, when I didn't go to the gym, I was like, oh, I'm losing that identity, and I didn't understand the art of detachment and allowing myself to be in those spaces for seasons and still love it, still love those things. Because I mean, sometimes you do get to a point where you've done it for so long. It's like, let me take a break from this and find something new that really ignites me. That's kind of what happened with the studio. I just did it for so long that I got kind of burnt out on the way that I was doing it. And I had to find a new path. But yeah, like I said, like plant medicine has really helped me. And I'm really in a studying space right now. Back where I was, in the beginning of really wanting to understand how to let things go. I think the biggest lesson for me right now is attachment styles within a family system, like anxious attachment and, something that me and my wife have been communicating a lot about. These styles of attachment, some people are, I just want to run away from everything. And others are, I need to make sure that you're good before I'm good. And that's like an anxious attachment style. And that's definitely one I have is I want to make sure everybody else around me is straight before Justin's straight. And that's not a good thing to do because you just continue to give yourself over and over and over again. And then you feel a fear of when people don't respond to you in a very nice way. And you're like, oh, what's wrong? What did I do? Why are you mad? Are you mad at me?
Then what does that healing process look like?
It's a practice, man. It's a practice of letting go. Like, when me and Kathy get into a disagreement, it's like, I just have to let her be mad. Like, let her be angry. She's a human. She's got to go through that process too. She's so good at that with me. Like, when I'm upset, she's like, yeah, you need to go somewhere and just be with that dude. And I'm like over here, like trying to fix it immediately, when she's mad at me. And I just have to let her be angry. Like, because people have to feel through those emotions. And usually when I do, that's the healing part of it, is like watching the results come in real time when you really practice the thing. When I actually step back and she's like, I don't want to talk anymore. Don't force this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I'll walk away. And then an hour, 2 hours later, hey, let's talk about this. And I'm like, here's the relief. Here's the, okay, we can really dig into it now because we're both regulated. We're both in a space where we're in a loving space where we can communicate so much better.
How long have you been with your partner?
We've been married for 4 years. Yeah. Yeah. So, we have a 1-year-old daughter together, and it's been a very like beautiful trying and testing and amazing, rewarding journey being married. Because really, I believe beyond these plant medicines, relationships are the best medicine because you're constantly in front of a mirror. You know, your partner can show you the best and worst sides of yourself. You get comfortable with somebody and eventually that shit comes out. I see that in the music industry. It always comes out in the music and it never comes out like on the people. Like sometimes it does, but mostly it's in the music. And so I never had to like face that head on with the relationships I made in the music industry because all that shit would always come out in the music. And there's really never any beef or anything between me and artists or, you know, those conversations never came up. So, but being with somebody deeply intimate, you know, in that connected way really can bring out, it can really be the best medicine for you. And if you really decide to like, okay, this person, my shit is coming out and they still love me and it's unconditional and I'm willing to work on that shit that's being exposed, that can create a beautiful union. If both partners are in a space of like, wow, you're really showing me a lot right now with these disagreements and arguments and whatever, you know, let's work on it. You start to work on it. It creates an even stronger bond.
Were you with her before you started your healing journey, or did you already start that prior before meeting her?
We started it like together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were both kind of in a space where it was like, enough is enough. This big pharma shit is not working. Every therapist I went to was like a military therapist, and they were like, suck it up. You know, never wanted to like really focus on the details. It was really crazy. So she had a friend out in California who was like, dude, you got to come out here and try some ayahuasca. And I had heard about it like in National Geographic and shit, you know, like, oh yeah, these mind altering drugs. And of course, like mushrooms and stuff, being in the industry, music industry, like there's all kinds of shit that comes around. And I tried mushrooms before ayahuasca and before the healing, you know, journey part of it. But I was more of a tourist than she was. She was focused more on healing. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll get some healing from this, but I really want to see what this ayahuasca shit's like, you know? And when we went out there, it just completely flipped my world upside down. And I never looked back. My first trip was a major ego death. And what happened? Walk us through
what an ego death is. There's a lot of people out here that probably don't know any of this stuff.
It can come in many different ways. My experience was discovering a flaw in an identity that I had created that I needed to become aware of and let go. Some people have an experience where they die completely and really experience the void and like what that's like. And I've had those experiences too. But I think each ego death is so different. It's like dying to who you think you are. You know, your ego it can be your best friend. It can be your greatest protector. It can be your controller. It can be your fiercest weapon. It can be your downfall. It can be, you know, whatever you allow that to be, it can be. And to have a death to that is extremely powerful. In my journey, it has been. So I had this identity of like living in who I thought my father wanted me to be. Like living like my dad. My dad was great. Like
how's your relationship then?
It's a lot better. Like I won't say a lot better. I mean, it's a lot more close than it's ever been. And that's due to some experiences this past year. But yeah, so my first ayahuasca trip, I actually turned into my dad. I started speaking out loud. I was like, who am I? Mike? You sound like Mike. Mike? Mike. Where's Justin? Justin. But I'm Mike. Like it was like this loop of like thought like I'm my dad. And I'm like, where's Justin? Oh my God, I lost myself. I don't know who I am. think I'm my dad. How am I my dad? How does that happen? You know, like all these questions and all these things. And I could not like get out of that for a long time. So I had this thought that popped up, was like, okay, what would Mike say to Justin in this moment to give him safety, make him feel safe and secure? And it was, it's okay, buddy. This is temporary. This is just temporary. And buddy was like the key word. You ever seen like Inception, and they have like the thing that brings them back, you know, the top or the dice or whatever that brings them back from that reality. And that was the thing, the buddy, him saying buddy. And I said that out loud to myself while I'm in this journey. And that was like the thing that brought me back. Like, okay, yeah, it's temporary. And I'm Justin. I am Justin, not Mike. Cool. And then usually what happens on ayahuasca is you purge, right? And a lot of the times it's after a major spiritual, like, or a major like processing of those things. Purging is like throwing up. Either you throw up or you like shit, you know? And you have enough, like,
throwing up gives me panic attacks.
Dude, I hate throwing up. I hate throwing up so much. But yeah, usually you purge, and you have enough faculty like to get up, and you know, if you have to like use the restroom, you can go to the restroom.
You didn't even lay there and do it yourself.
Yeah, like there's very few times I've seen people like use the restroom on themselves, and that's because they like were so gone and deep into it that it just, you know, there was no other way to. They couldn't get up and move. But so after that, like after that experience of becoming my dad, like I felt very sick. And the spiritual significance of that is like when you purge, you're not getting sick, you're getting well. So you're releasing all of that energy that you just processed. So I started feeling sick. I rolled over and I went to go throw up, and I completely like, I took a breath in and I started choking on the air. I couldn't breathe. I started panicking because like vomit was coming up at the same time. So it was like this whole, I couldn't breathe. Vomit's coming up. Like it was wild. This, one of the guides, I mean, all night I was thinking, God, she's an angel. The way she was moving, there was like, you couldn't tell whether she was taking steps or not. It was like she was floating across the floor. She comes floating over and like sits on the fireplace on the side of me. And all I hear is, "You got this, Justin." And like that second, I took a big deep breath through my nose. Like if I can't breathe through my mouth, I'm going to try my nose. Took a big deep breath through my nose, stopped choking, let the breath out, and just vomited it everywhere, like all into they give us a bucket to, and that was, it was so like freeing. Yeah, it was insane. And then later on after the ceremony, you know, we had this like, we have a sharing circle and you're there with like 12 people. It's kind of like a tribal thing, like, which really lifts up the energy in the room because people are in their own thing, but they're also like all on medicine. So there's just this atmosphere of whatever, you know, is happening, which is crazy because anything could go in those ceremonies. So, but the medicine man like talked through it. His name is Attila. And he was like, yeah, it sounds like you were metaphorically, like your dad was choking you. Like he was the thing that was restraining Justin from becoming Justin. He was controlling, you know, and that's what you were in your mind. That's what you were allowing your father to do, even though your father wasn't doing that realistically, you know. In my mind, I had built this idea of this is who I want my father to be. So I trapped myself. And so in that image, you know, my father was choking me and holding me, restraining me. And so that's why I was like choking and couldn't get it out. And So, I mean, my father's always said, like, no matter what you do, I'm proud of you. Like, as long as you're happy, I'm proud of you. And it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just proud you're my son. So I had completely built that up in my mind myself and trapped myself in that prison, in that identity, you know? And so I had a major experience with that and death to that. And so then I started practicing, like, Justin needs to be Justin. He needs to figure out who Justin is and be that. And I think I'm still discovering that, which I don't think it's ever going to end because I have so many different identities, you know? So many different things that I enjoy and so many different things that I put myself into, and practicing the art of detachment with that has been beautiful because I don't have grief or guilt when I leave something, or let something go and come back to it later.
Is any of this like regulated, or how is this like studied or practiced?
Yeah. So the retreat center I go to is called Aluna Healing Center. And they have, it's completely legal for them to practice. They have, licenses and lawyers and doctors and all kinds of stuff in place that allow them to practice this legally. And it's a church. I'm not sure I think it'd be a 501c3, but I'm not sure. But it's a legal church. They don't have a religion per se. They have kind of more like a mission statement, and their mission statement is geared towards healing. Working with people with severe trauma. I would say they're very spiritual people, but they don't share openly what their belief systems are because that's not what the goal is.
Mm-hmm.
When you get close with them, they reveal a little bit about more of who they are, and you see why they choose not to share that. It's because they want their participants to really hone in on the individuality and find their own healing and find their own belief system and things like that. But they're very interesting people and very loving and open and free people. And they've been doing this for 20 years, maybe more.
So what, you just started doing like Google searches? Like, how did you find?
So Bree, yeah, my wife's like best friend, her sister was like, hey, if nothing's working, come out here. And we were like, okay, let's do it. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride. So this past year, like I said, I went out to do my own journey. And what I did was I've already done the Entheo Guide, like facilitation training, and I still have what they call 12 buckets to do. I've already done, I guess I would say I've done 2 or 1, I'm not sure, but it's basically like an internship. So or a apprenticeship, once you're done with the training, then you have to go do 12 ceremonies to start being paid by them to work the retreats. So I went and did one of my apprenticeships, and I told Attila, I was like, yeah, I want to come out and do 2 nights of ayahuasca, but I'd like to do my own journey. And we did this retreat where it's 2 nights of ayahuasca, 1 day off, and then 1 day of San Pedro. And San Pedro is mescaline. It's
So people not like freak the fuck out at any point? Like anybody out there is like, yeah, no, this was a bad idea, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There's definitely been people.
So people freak out.
Yeah. Well, they call it flipping, right?
Okay.
But sometimes it's not. Sometimes a flip can be, I would consider our buddy Roscoe, he flipped. His flip was pretty underwhelming in terms of other flips.
Straight up not having a good time, bro.
Yeah, well, either not having a good time or just like really so deep in it that like they're doing crazy stuff um outwardly, you know, outside. Like, yeah, I've seen people like freak out and get naked and roll all over the floor and um
Pretty heavy.
yeah, I mean
So then
there's
you're not scared that like somebody's gonna do some fucked up shit?
well, they have it pretty like they do a lot of like vetting with people too, where they say, okay, look, you're not ready for ayahuasca, maybe you need to do MDMA first. MDMA is a great tool for like allowing yourself to release or speak openly about your trauma without feeling the pain behind it. He did have a great time. I think during his experience, it wasn't necessarily great because he was like, he'd explain it in a way like he was living and dying multiple lives over and over and over again. I mean, so he was like, at some point, it gets very like, okay, when's this going to end? You know? But physically, outwardly, like he wasn't doing much. He was just really deep. His eyes closed. He's really deep in this journey and couldn't hear anybody outside of him. We were trying to like call his name, and it was pretty intense. But yeah, so there's definitely people that like, we've had people freak out.
What do you do in an instant like that?
What they usually do is they bring him out of the yurt and they assign like a entheo guide or a facilitator to them. Like we had one lady on this past journey. She was from Kazakhstan, and a lot of deep, you know, trauma there. And she was just kept yelling and like in the middle of the ceremony room, and she kept like expressing outwardly and trying to tell, like, while people are in their journeys, trying to tell people things. And like, yeah, it was so they removed her from the yurt and took her into the barn house, and they assigned a couple of entheo guides with her, and they just sat with her, and they just, you know, a lot of times we, as an entheo guide, you don't want to like talk to them, want them to have their experience. But you want to be there as a safe like guide. And then of course, like if maybe they come out of it for a minute and they're like, they don't know how to process things, you can be there for like a hand to hold and give them some like breathing exercises and things like that that help them ground a little better. And so this person was like just gone and like freaking out, moving around a bunch, wouldn't stop like writhing all over the floor. Like, so they took her to the barn house, and still there she was, kept doing it. And so we are like trained to work with things like that, right? So when people flip and they have these major experiences that are really outwardly and expressive, and maybe a bad experience or could be good, but like very hard for them in the moment because it's, you know, they were trained for that. So a lot of the times it's removing them from the space so that other people don't feel overwhelmed by it, because they're in their journey and like, you don't want to fuck somebody else up, you know? And then the other side of it is sometimes we have to like restrain and get physical. Because
Is anybody like broke, like went full blown psychosis? Like,
not that I know of. No. And I mean, the studies go as far to say like, if somebody were to reach, you know, for some reason that psychosis comes, usually that's due to their own doing, because ayahuasca's out of your system pretty quickly. It's DMT, so it's processes very, very quickly. And what makes it last 6 hours is the MAOI inhibitor that they mix it with. That makes it digestible. So then your body slows down the digestive process of digesting the DMT. So that's why you have like a longer journey than just like smoking DMT. Smoking DMT can last, I think the longest, maybe like an hour, but most of the time it's like 20, 30 minutes. So yeah, I mean, usually what happens is people go home and they do stuff that's not good, like high intensity Kundalini yoga or smoke weed, like straight back to smoking weed. And like ayahuasca and marijuana they're not friends.
Really?
Like in the sense of like they have their own like great, medicine, but like you don't want to do like ayahuasca and marijuana together. It's like which most medicines you can do that, like mushrooms, and you can do, a little bit of cannabis and it like helps the journey or maybe ignites it more or whatever. But yeah, they're not the two things that you don't want to do together. So usually they tell you like, hey, if you are a sweet weed smoker, like smoke at least 2 weeks after. Wait a couple weeks, So some of that psychosis stuff can be like brought on by the person's own doing. And if that happens, generally the psychosis only lasts for like a couple weeks. And then it goes, and it's like back.
It's a long couple weeks.
It is. Yeah. Psychosis can be pretty, intense. Like you don't know what's going on at all. So, but that's usually due to like a lot of other underlying issues. Maybe they didn't reveal totally that maybe they kept taking their
things.
Well, yeah, like they lied and said that they got off their SSRIs and they continued to stay on their SSRIs, which SSRIs and ayahuasca you do not want to take. Like that can really, really mess you up. So you're supposed to be off of your SSRIs for a certain amount of time, which are like antidepressants, for a certain amount of time before you go into the plant medicine world. They're completely, they call it contraindicated. They contradict each other completely. So plus you're getting in an SSRI is MAOI inhibitors. So you're getting like a double dose of that and that can really mess you up. But yeah, so people definitely freak out. I've heard experiences of like some real big dudes that just get physical and they don't know what to do with themselves. They start freaking out. So they jump up and wave the hands around and start going crazy. Our medicine man, Attila has told us a few like stories like that, not going into depths because a lot of stuff we want to keep private for people.
Yeah.
But just for the sake of like, having the knowledge and understanding like this is powerful medicine. It can do a lot. But see, that's where the vetting process, and then also like the sharing circles and the journaling and like the whole process is so important. Setting the intention, like you have to really like go into this intentionally.
Okay.
We had a guy that
I've never done that with mushrooms, man.
Yeah.
Like I've always just been like, I'm gonna get fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. Which like mushrooms are safe most of the time because you can't overdose on psilocybin.
No, but a bad trip, man. When them shroomies turn on you, it's rough.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. And and that's like in my experience, like a bad trip is also never a bad trip for me. Cause like the trip might be terrible. And then when I come out of it, I'm like, okay, what lesson did that bad trip have for me? What things are alive in me that caused a bad trip? Like if I smoke weed and I have tremendous anxiety, what anxiety am I living with previous to smoking weed? Because it only heightens
clear enough conscience for hallucinogenics.
Yeah, it's if you go into it intentionally, it can be very healing because you're like, okay, let's peel some layers back. And really, I would say super powerful in the music industry because I've always been like really insecure with relationships in that space, and like meeting bigger early on in the studio industry or in the studio setting, like meeting bigger people who have worked on major stuff. I didn't know what to do with that relationship because I was so caught up in my insecurity and so caught up in my ego, you know? Oh, this guy knows the music industry and he's just taking advantage of us. He's going to fuck us. Or, things like that. Just not good, like going into it. And it was really like a lack of knowledge. And then also like a lack of confidence in what I knew I was capable of doing. Felt like I was constantly being judged, but I was really just judging myself, but yeah, it's been an amazing experience. It really like changed me into a completely different person, made me see a lot of stuff. I would say like my healing journey really started when I met Alan. Because I think maybe, I don't know how long he had been out of prison when I met him, but he had went through a lot of processes and studied a lot. And so he had this like well of knowledge and being. And so when we hit each other up initially in the very beginning of my studio, I saw a lot of things in him that like I wanted to be in. So I went to him with a lot of different things. And I mean, there was so much that was what piqued my interest. So I was at a place where I had started this studio business and now I had all this freedom and all this time. And, what started to happen was shit started coming up. And so I hit this depression. I hit, all kinds of craziness started coming my way. And, he had been through that. He knew like, and so we had deep conversations and I learned a lot from that. And then that's what really kind of ignited when Kathy was like, oh, let's go do ayahuasca. I was like, fuck yeah. Let's go see what, these concepts and things that we've been talking about for years really have, what type of place they have in my life.
Are you scared?
I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified because I was like, this is going to take me out of my control. I mean, that's the biggest thing. It's like you lose control and you have to be willing to give that up in the medicine space. You really do. You have to be willing to lose control and understand that that's what's going to happen. And the more you try to fight it, the worse it becomes. And that's what generally creates like bad trips because one thought can lead into a rabbit hole that you don't want to visit. And yeah, for me, in my experience, it's been a lot of the times what it is. One little thing can like ignite something.
For me, it's not like I don't trip on one thing. Like it's not like one thing that freaks me out. It's an emotion.
Yeah.
It is just bad trip. It's just the worst panic attack. 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like that's just about it. It's not like, oh, I'm tripping out about one thing or freaking out about this or anything in specific. That's rough. Then you just got to sit with it hours and just ride it out.
Right. And that's the part of letting go. Like the quicker you understand how to let go is like, that's when that wave of like, maybe, what do you call it? Just wave of peace maybe comes over when you realize, oh, I don't have to live in this. I have to be this state. It's so hard though. It's so hard. Like
when I was younger, it was so much more fun
because you hadn't been through a ton of shit.
It was I would have like ego death experiences where I'm like, who am I? What is this? What's reality? Like, but even then, it wasn't scary to go on those journeys. And now, even like if I do too much of a micro dose, I'm just anxiety ridden for hours. Crazy.
And so that's where I say, like, if that's what comes up, because these medicines only heighten what's already in us. If that's what comes up, then that's what's alive in you when you're sober, you know? So like when you go into if you decide to do that again, go in with the idea of like, I want to discover what the anxiety and this business is that lives in day to day, you know? And that can be super powerful and super freeing.
Before we jump back into things, I just want to take a minute to let you guys know that I am accepting new clients. So if you would like to tell your story on the show, or if you would just like a new tattoo, head over to www.blackandgray.family or scan the QR code on the screen. And let's get back to the episode.
How'd you get into music production?
Yeah. So we touched on a lot of points that kind of like brought me to that space. Really, it was in church. I loved being on stage and playing and that kind of stuff, but I really loved the production behind it. And so I got really interested with the soundboard and kind of like apprenticed with the sound guy there, and that developed even more. Like I started using FL Studio when I was like 15, 14, 15 years old. Started making beats on FL, and later, like going to college, probably at WKU is probably when it really ignited, because I had a group of guys around me that were really musical, and a lot of them knew like recording software and that kind of stuff. So I had this concept of, we used Pro Tools at the church, so I had like this concept of understanding how to record and what the fundamentals were, compression, EQ, that kind of stuff, but I didn't have like a major heavy grasp on it because there wasn't like a ton of experience with it. But in college, I really got with some guys that were like really understood that. And so I wanted the recording side. I wanted to do the production recording side. They wanted to do the musical side. So that was the connection. I had like a rap group. I guess today you would call us like a meme rap group. But this was like back in 2008, 2009. We called ourselves Bankstas. I have a tattoo of my leg of the Bankstas, and it says Bankstas on my leg. And yeah, so I put that on there as like a reminder of that time of life. You know, it's kind of funny, but that's where it really ignited. Like we did goofy raps, goofy beats. We were trying to like be like a 303 type group, and we made a bunch of funny songs. We never really got that far, but it was a great learning experience because I like went through the process of learning how to record, compression, EQ, and building instrumentals, and really dove into production styles and how to do that. And later, fast forward, like we eventually move into a different house. I start a relationship with a guy named Skylar that I met in college in a marketing class. And he comes over to the house, and we're just like in this little tiny house recording in a corner of the room. And we just grow and build this relationship and music collection and went on the journey with that, like driving to Atlanta and meeting with like people who were a part of T.I.'s label, who invited him out to come and like be a producer on their team. But we got the weird side of the industry there, so it didn't get pursued. And running into a lot of different things, and then eventually moving into a house with one of my older roommates and opening like a house studio. And I learned a lot in there too, like recording a lot of rappers, mostly rappers, and kind of doing my own music with my roommate. He was my bass player for the band. We had a band called Lady Grace, and it was like Southern rock type stuff. And that was more along the lines of like me wanting to show or prove what Justin was capable of in terms of production. I didn't really want to be the artist because had been on stage and that was cool, but I really just enjoyed the creation process.
Right.
You know? So I was like, if people aren't going to do like, if I can't produce a band, if I can't produce anyone, I'm just going to produce myself and I'll just do it all myself. I'll sing, I'll play guitar, I'll play all the drums. I'll have my bass player play the bass. And even on some songs, he wasn't there. So I played the bass and just really self-taught myself through that process of how to do things. And I grew a great client list and base just in that little home studio to the point where I eventually was selling cars. I had like this crisis where I'm like, I don't want to keep doing this anymore. And in 2016, I was, you know, I had a lot going on. I was supposed to be married to another person, and that helped put things into perspective of what I really wanted, and moved from the house studio to a little tiny commercial space in the back of like a shared working space. It was called Crowd South. They had a building and they did like internet marketing, but they had multiple offices in the building. And around the same time that I was renting out my studio, there was another company called Bid Monsters that was renting out the upstairs. And so I was able to get this one little tiny room. I met those guys, which created a major, great networking relationship. We did a lot of work with them, and which actually ended up, I met Alan in the time that I first opened the studio.
I'm glad I'm the only one that still catches myself being Leo comes out first and then Alan.
Well, it was Vinci when I met him. So like, you gotta go back to those timelines, you know? It's wild. But yeah, so I hadn't really dove into a relationship with the Vid Monsters yet. I had met Alan first, and I just previously, I think they were there paying, like renting, or like they were there the first day that I went in to look at the office. They were there signing the lease paperwork. So I met them, and Sam was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have a video place upstairs. It's cool. We're gonna have a studio down here. We're gonna have to work together." And I'm like, "Dude, okay, bet. I haven't even signed the lease paperwork yet. I'm here to just look." You know, that was an incentive for me to open the space. I was so scared. I had like $1,000 in my bank account. The deposit was $1,000. You know, 500 rent, 500 security deposit. Like, how the fuck am I gonna do this? So, you know, my parents saw the passion. They helped, like my mom helped decorate, helped me come up with concepts of how to, you know, create the room and the space, and they were there supportive. And the more it kind of went, they became even more supportive, which was awesome to see, because they were like I said, a lot of turmoil growing up in my house. So they were finally seeing a passion of mine that was coming to life, and they were like, okay, we can get behind this, because he really knows what he's doing. He's really, you know, trying to improve his life. So, which was awesome. So they helped out a lot with that. But, you know, I grinded. I lived in that space. I moved out of my old house and lived in the studio for, I don't know how long. Maybe like a couple months. Moved in with Sam and the Bid Monsters. Yeah, so production, like really, you know, where it started was probably like 13, 14 years old when I first opened up FL Studio. Like this, I love this. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And I didn't know how I was going to get there at all. Going to college for a communications degree that had nothing to do with music. But the beautiful thing is, you know, I took the chance, took the risk, opened the studio, slept on the couch, took showers at the gym, did my thing, hopped around from apartment to apartment, you know, tried to really find my home. And eventually the studio space just grew and grew and grew, and we had more clients coming through. And Alan was working at another studio, what was it called? Studio 17, Bama's studio. He was like the main guy in the community. He was the one doing it. And So he left that studio to come work over at my studio. He was like, I need a change of pace. This is not working. I need to go somewhere where I can actually grow. And so he got linked in with Vid Monsters there, and we just became this whole big community. That's where he really like dove deep into videography, I think, right? Yeah. Photography, videography, and worked for them for a while, did a lot of projects with them, and was on staff with them for a while. And yeah. So we just built this whole community. We had a ton of artists coming through all the time, like that we were co-creating a community with, and eventually it grew way bigger than the little tiny space we were in. And we moved to a new location, a bigger location, and that grew even farther. And so much happened over those years that like it's hard to capture. And just, you know, even in this session where we've been here for a couple hours already,
Right.
it's so much to capture. But 2019 is when we opened the second location, and I mean that just from there it just went nuts. It blew up. It was great. It became like the staple studio in the community. You know, other people tried to open studios and they had their clients and they had their people, but like everybody knew what like black market studios. or
Okay,
NF
that's when I had.
studios.
I even came out. That's when I first started hanging out with Lee. I mean, it's been quite a few years now. Yeah, it's been quite a few years. But I had came over to the black market studio a couple times. I had just gotten into video work, and he was letting me shadow him on a couple things.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you remember that space, like super nice
That was
little
in
couch.
Bowling Green, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Some couches, a nice table, big desk, window on the other side of the wall, you know, like could see into the booth, and created so many awesome relationships, created a relationship now that's brought me to, I mean, major heights in the industry with these guys.
Is that how you met like Old 60 and that's
Yeah.
where all that started?
Yeah, so yeah, I was about to say, I don't know if I want to do that, you know. Right, yeah, right.
He started off as a rapper, didn't he?
Well, he didn't rap as much. He didn't really rap as much as like he sang. Yeah, he sang a lot of hooks, and it was like fun for him, you know. It was like he was with this group called Chill OG, and they were a group of four guys, with four guys, and then turned to three. And yeah, you know, there's a lot of relationship stuff, but they went through their process. And Jacob has always been drawn to music, period. Like he just loves music. And I think he really found his lane with this rock, Southern rock, and like the direction he's went with Old 60. But yeah, so I was in a place where I was wanting to shut down the studio, and Alan had moved to Louisville, and he's like, I got this place above me that needs to be rented. And I'm like, dude, that's the move. Like, I got to make a major change if I want to like progress. And this is going to be the thing that shakes up the whole situation, you know? So I was like, okay, I'm shutting down the studio. I tried to keep it alive, tried to bring engineers in. It just wasn't working. Nobody treated it with the amount of passion that I had for the studio industry. And there weren't as many clients coming in with these other engineers, and it wasn't something that could stay alive. So I was like, okay, I got to shut it down, but let's knock out this album with Old 60 first, and let's see what happens. You know? And so that was the last album I did, you know, last big project I did with the studio in Bowling Green before I shut it down. And
How long ago did you guys record that album?
2023, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was July of 2023. Yeah, July of 2023. Released the album in August. And then they got signed in January of 2024.
And they got found from like TikTok and shit. They went viral. Is how they kind of blew up.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
So Jacob was kind of like a meme lord for a long time.
Okay.
He had a meme page, and like he did a skit that was like featured on Sports Center. And so like there was some recognition there for sure. And then when he started releasing covers, it was like people were just eating it up, you know? And so that's when I hit him up and I was like, dude, you got to come record some of these covers professionally. And he was like, no, dude, I got originals. I was like, bet, let's do it. He's like, I plan to come to you soon. And that's how that whole process started. And so I shut down the studio and we actually recorded some songs like up in Indiana, right there across the bridge in New Albany, at a place called The Root. I think we recorded maybe Brother Joe and can't remember another song that we recorded up there, but yeah, so October of 2023 is when I completely shut down the studio and like moved out. I was gone. I was up in Louisville full time. No attachment to Bowling Green. I was so ready to like close that chapter that I don't think I really felt any major emotions. You know, I stood in this empty studio and had a moment where a tear rolled down my face and like, I'm going to miss this. But then it was like, okay, well, this new chapter is greater than this one. So, you know, I can't be attached to these feelings with this place anymore. So really moved on from it very, very easily and very quickly. But it was that breaking point. It's like, you know, like a woman giving birth, like there's a time for that baby to come out. You know, there's a time to nurture the baby for that 9 months, and then there's a time for the baby to come out. And that was the birthing moment. That was the relief. Like all this stuff that I've been doing for years finally came to a head, and it was like, that's it. It was easy to let go. But then I freelanced up in Louisville for a while, and Jacob called me one day and said, dude, we were getting signed. And I'm like, what?
How does that affect you?
I mean, paperwork started flying at me from everywhere, like producer artist agreements and royalties and all this stuff. And I'm like, I got to get on my game, get a lawyer, do like, what's going on, you know? And so as a producer, it looked like definitely like a lot more recognition in the country, Southern rock space. Something that I was completely unfamiliar with because I'd been doing pop and hip hop for years. And so I really took that time while I was up in Louisville to keep my income alive. I did a lot of studio sessions there with with rappers and pop artists. In the time frame that I was waiting for like these first royalty checks to come in and that kind of stuff. But I, you know, as I was keeping my income alive, I was also learning a ton. Like I was traveling to Nashville, sitting with mixers and really trying to dive into understanding how to fully mix bands and stuff, you know? Yeah, I learned a lot during that time frame. And then I went on this writing retreat with, I'll say this, me and Kathy, my wife, were at a place where we were really comfortable with our relationship and we were really comfortable in the space that we were moving towards. And we decided to try to have a baby, and we didn't really have to try because we tried one time and it happened, which was crazy because we tried and I left for a week-long retreat. It wasn't like a retreat. It was like kind of just guys getting together, and we wrote some songs and just really hung out and got to know each other mostly. And we did a lot of like little like production and like idea creation and that kind of stuff. But we also just hung out and really got to know each other, went to the casino, and it was an awesome experience. And then come back from that, and I'm like, I get in at like 3 a.m. and my wife has this envelope on the pillow, and she's like, has the covers all the way up to her face, but she's like peeking out. And I go to open the envelope, and it's a pregnancy test. And so that's when like, it's crazy because that time frame is when everything started to just blow up. And so it was like
when you needed it to most.
Yeah. Like it was crazy. Like we were birthing a child and we were birthing a career. Like it was amazing. So, yeah, we ended up moving to when she became like really probably like 7 to 8 months pregnant. We decided to move closer to my family in Vine Grove. Because my sister, she's got 3 boys and 1 on the way. My mom was there, my dad was there. Like we were surrounded by a good community of people that could support us while we were, in this process of having Esme. So we lived there for a while, and that's when I got introduced to Sons of Habit. And I was traveling to Bowling Green to another studio called Angel Oak Studio, where I was recording Sons of Habit. And they found me through Old 60 because they grew up in the same area, like Hawesville, Tell City, Owensboro area. And they knew the Old 60 guys. So Jacob was like, yeah, you got to hit up our guy, Justin. Like he'll help you out and get you together. And so Mitchell from Sons of Habit hollered at me and was like, dude, we want to work with you. And we ended up creating this, great relationship and with all the Sons of Habit guys, and they took off. They got signed. They're on tour right now and they're doing their thing, which is amazing. So once that happened, we were like,
can producers get signed? Like how does a producer get on with a label?
Yeah. So it's really based on like their work and recognition. Like a producer can get signed and they can get like what pub deals. And
Before we jump back into things, I just want to take a minute to let you guys know that I am accepting new clients. So if you would like to tell your story on the show, or if you would just like a new tattoo, head over to www.blackandgray.family or scan the QR code on the screen. And let's get back to the episode.
like a publishing deal would be like more on the writing side, like they're writing and producing. Right now I'm mostly on just the producing side. So I collect a percentage of mechanical royalties, which is like from streaming and that kind of stuff. And then I do have one writer's credit on one of the old 60 songs called Walls. And so I collect publishing through my what is it called? My PRO, which is my publishing rights organization. They're called BMI. So I collect a check every quarter from them as well, just for that song. And but the more and more that I have writing credits on, and the more that I do pub, I could eventually fall into a pub deal or get a pub deal. But yeah, I could be signed by a label, and then they would put me in rooms with their label artists and that kind of stuff. I mean, there's so many directions that I could go with it, and I would definitely sign a pub deal. I don't know if I would get attached to a label, because I would more so want to work with artists from all different labels, you know, and I don't know if I'd be pigeonholed into one label or not. So
that makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, they definitely can. And you know, that might be something to explore later on in the future for sure. But yeah, we moved to Vine Grove, Kentucky, which isn't too far from here. And then we moved, once everything started blowing up with Sons of Habit and 60 even more artists started hitting me up, and I was like, we got to go to Nashville. So within like 6 months of us living in Vine Grove and having Esme, we moved to Nashville. And
is that where you live now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I live in a place called White House, Tennessee, which is about 30 minutes from Nashville. And it has been a journey living out there. So much freedom, so much space, and the land that we have is beautiful. We're hoping to buy this year, which, you know, is more than I could ever hope for in terms of living off of this career, being able to buy homes and buy things that sustain us, you know, just the abundance that's come from it. There's so much gratitude in it. And I keep this journey like super close to my heart, so that I remember that that gratitude. And that's what plant medicine honestly has helped a lot with too, is discovering that gratitude for the journey, for the path. Everything that has every decision I've ever made, I can't have regrets on because it's led me here.
Well, what are you doing now? What's on the plate now? I mean, Old 60 doing anything. They won some awards and shit too, didn't they?
They yeah. So they got nominated for their first year out. They got nominated at the People's Choice Awards for they got 2 nominations, one for Artist or Band of the Year, and then the other was Song of the Year for Smoking a Light, which is their biggest song that everybody kind of recognizes them off of. And yeah, me and Alan went to the People's Choice Awards, and that was crazy. Met MGK, met Matt Rife, and yeah, smoking back there with MGK, and gosh, man, Shania Twain rubbed my jacket. I was wearing this green velvet jacket, and she rubbed it. And she was like, "Ooh, I like that." I'm like, Shania Twain just touched me. Right. Yeah, so it was just a while in the Shabuzi, meeting Shabuzi, and I got pictures. Yeah, he's a real awesome dude. He actually went on tour with or one of the guys that I'd went on the retreat with there in North Carolina that I previously talked about. His name is Luke Borchelt. He actually got on tour with Shabuzi, and so that was a cool talking point. I was like, "Hey, you know my buddy Luke?" And he's like, "Yeah, man." And so that was really cool to open the door to that relationship. And it's a small world, just how many, people know each other in this industry. It being so big and broad, but still being so small. But yeah, what's next on the plate is, we just finished up Smokestack Town a couple months ago, which was, Old 60's big debut album, more than 4 songs. So they've released a few small 4-song EPs, and this was their big studio album. We worked with another producer who was the executive producer over the whole thing. His name is Jakir King. He's produced most in my book, most notably Zach Bryan and Kings of Leon.
Huh?
Yeah. So he continues to work with them, and he's worked with so many other artists. Tom Waits, major, guy in the industry, yeah. So he's been a huge. I mean, there's so many other bands that he's worked with, and he's been a major guy in rock for years, major producer in rock for a long time, and so working with him was great, and being able to co-produce with him and was, beautiful. What's next on the plate for me is really jumping into the pub side, jumping in with more artists and writing, because I love the writing process. I love creation, and the cool thing is I have a cottage house outside of my main house at home that I turned into a studio. So I have the ability to just invite guys out to write, and then be like, okay, cool, we've actually finished writing this whole song. Let's cut a demo real quick. And then they can take that back to their label, and they can say, okay, let's refine this and really dive into the production of this and make it a thing and make it a song. Or we just keep scheduling writes and filtering through. But that's the place where I'm at, where I really want to write with artists and help create, what people are hearing, more of what people are hearing. Because the music side is great, and the atmosphere behind the lyrics is awesome. That's what I love doing. But if I can dive deeper into the picture of the song, that's always cool for me.
Who's up and coming that you're like, man, this is right now, that you really look forward to either working with or just know of? That's
You, man. There's a few, to be honest. I met this guy named Ian Harrison. I feel like he's super on the come up. He's signed with Sony. He's an awesome artist. Chase Saunders. He's not signed. He's killer singer, vocalist. I would say he's on the come up. He toured with Sons of Habit. He was like one of their openers, I think. But again, like he's not signed. I don't know what. Actually, I don't know. I think he might have some prospects. I haven't talked to him in a while. We're supposed to do a session next week. Cade Maurer is killer. He's another guy that I'm like, I found him at a farmer's market. I'm like,
What?
Yeah. We were at a farmer's market in White House and he was gigging. He was singing and just singing covers. And I'm like, who are you? And why are you here? Why are you doing this here? Like you should be, which has been, we've created a great relationship and he's done some writers round. He just wrote with like some Billboard chart topping writers. Like to watch his progression has been amazing too. And that's mostly in the, you know, country music space, which I've, you know, this might be like a hot take or something like, I don't know, it might piss some people off, but I've never been a fan of country music.
Really?
I've always been a fan of making it.
Right.
I love making music, period. Like whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But I've never gotten into like the country music. I think maybe because the atmosphere of it, but it's changing tides so much right now that like, I mean, the Old 60 has made this new genre called like grunge country.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I can see that too. Like,
yeah, it's been interesting to see, but, yeah, so it's, you know, I've always been in the hip hop and pop space. And, I mean, obviously like Alan, amazing content, full name, Alan Witcher. He has his tattoo podcast out with you all too.
Yeah.
And then
another episode coming up tomorrow.
Thick. Hell yeah. Artists I've been working with, super, I would say underrated artists that I've worked with for forever. I mean, obviously we told stories about them too. Mm-hmm. A guy named Jamie that I work with out of Louisville, Skylar. Gosh, there's so many to name that like, that are just amazing artists on the come up and deserve their flowers, deserve their light, you know? But right now I'm just in the space of like looking for artists too, that I can come over and write. I reached out to a few artists. I guess one guy that I would say that I would really want to work with, his name is Josh Sloan. He's signed and he's huge. He's like Zach Bryan's label, but I discovered him and then I didn't send anything.
Oh, you didn't reach out and try to
fucking took off. And so I went to Old 60s manager. I was like, you know, one guy I really want to work with. And he was like, who? I was like, Josh Sloan. And he goes, yeah, you and everybody else.
Right.
I'm like, fuck, you know? But I mean, I met him. He's a really great dude. We didn't talk music. We just like we went to a bar and I threw asked him a few little questions here and there, but seems like an awesome dude, an awesome kid. But that's one guy that he's just amazing voice, amazing writer. Somebody I definitely want to work with.
Well, we'll have plenty of more questions. I have so many questions for you, but we'll get into that on the next episode.
Hell yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say before we sign off here?
No. I mean, I'm an open book. Like if anybody wants to ask more about plant medicine, more about the industry, music industry, more about how I mold those two things together, feel free to reach out to me. My Instagram, it's Justin Michael Pro on Instagram. So shoot me a DM.
We'll put a link up there.
Yeah, shoot me a DM. Like I said, I'm an open book. Like I'll answer questions. I'll give guidance. Whatever.
Well, we'll get you back in here in just a couple of weeks to get this finished up. You know, the shading session.
Sick.
Pretty extensive, and we got all that geometric work to add there at the bottom. It's a pretty extensive piece. It's gonna be a fun one, but I think we should be able to knock it out on the next one.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being
here.
Even
for taking on this piece. Like I know it's
it'll be cool. It's fun. Yeah. I like it.
Oh yeah.
If you guys found any value in today's conversations, by all means, please subscribe, like, share, comment, all that fun stuff, and we'll see you on the next one.